How many Mr. Pickles will it get? Let's see if this cabinet has what it takes.
Video Game Vegas.
He's so cute.
Friends, Video Game Vegas. And this is my review of the iiRcade Dragon's Lair Gold Edition Arcade Cabinet. I base my arcade cabinet reviews on 10 categories, which you'll find detailed in the text below. For each positive in a category, or more positive than negative in a category, I'll score to Mr. Pickle. The more Mr. Pickles it gets, of course, the better. Based upon the total score, and my overall thoughts, I'll recommend if you should get it, vet it, or in other words, put it through its paces in person before you buy, or forget it. A couple of disclaimers before I get into my review. All my product reviews are based solely upon the item or items I receive. Some may get the same product and have no issues. Some may have more issues than I did. And maybe I get no issues at all, my hope for any product. Or maybe a majority of a specific product performs or presents differently than the one I got. But when it comes down to it, what I get is what I review. I don't acquiesce to excuses like, I must have gotten a bad one, or a good one, or ruminate shipping issues if I had it shipped, though I may note something. But plainly put, I'm an advocate for good quality with a strong emphasis towards quality control. And if a company wants their product seen favorably, then they need to make this a paramount part of their philosophy and put it to action. So what every customer receives is an acceptable, if not preferred, exceptional experience every time. Some may think it unfair not to put a more significant emphasis to the law of averages, and I appreciate that opinion. But my reviews are meant to tell my experience on exactly what I got, good or bad. Second, the footage presented in my videos of Arcade Cabinet's iReviewer showcase may contain updated parts, decorations, software, or other bits and bobs not included in a standard purchase. Please make sure to check advertised listings or reach out to retailers or companies to confirm complete contents in box. Now let's get to it. Dragon's Lair, forever symbolizing, for me, the grand affair of a new game launch in the arcade. I wax poetic about my first encounter with the game in my review for iiRcade's first generation, Classic Edition Dragon's Lair cabinet, which I recommend checking out. Dragon's Lair is a machine I long to have in my own home arcade, hoping to represent that grand experience. Now, the way I originally envisioned celebrating it was with a cabinet in production by home arcade company Arcade1Up. Arcade1Up was crafting their Dragon's Lair cabinet to mimic the shape of the first commercial arcade release, the one I pumped oh so many quarters into back in the day. As Arcade1Up's release loomed on the horizon, iiRcade then announced a new series of cabinets they were dubbing the Gold Edition, replete with light-up marquees and an even more enhanced sound experience. One of their skin variants for the new cabinets was that amazing Dragon's Lair artwork they crafted for their first generation machines. It wasn't enough to sway me away from purchasing Arcade1Up's version, but Arcade1Up was already on shaky ground with me, with some of my recent purchases containing ill-decided cut corners. And then their newest set of titles started releasing with even more reported issues. The most egregious, to me, a glut of horrible, low-quality monitors. Would Arcade1Up's upcoming Dragon's Lair happen upon one of these unfortunate eyesores? Was I really willing to take another chance on Arcade1Up, especially at this time? Now, I had a pretty bad experience with a substandard monitor on iiRcade's first generation, Classic Edition Dragon's Lair cabinet, but did experience good monitor quality on one of their second generation cabinets, their Classic Edition Space Ace. I so wanted to have an exceptional Dragon's Lair presence in my arcade, and was looking to replace iiRcade's first-gen iteration due to that bad monitor. I just didn't know which way I wanted to go. Until iiRcade revealed that third-party peripherals, more physical control schemes, were coming to their platform, most seamlessly implemented and focused presently on their new upcoming Gold Edition cabinets, though Classic Editions would have planned application sometime in the future. They showed off some new USB ports in the front of the cabinet, and then dropped a huge bombshell I wasn't expecting, introducing one of their new partners, one of the most amazing people they could have ever collaborated with, Glenn from Glenn's Retro Show. They showed off prototypes of Glenn's spinner and his light-up trackball, and as I continued to watch, Arcade 1-Up's offering started to fade out a bit, as all sorts of new game possibilities on the iiRcade proceeded to do the hustle into my head. The ideal of the continual new game launch in the arcade had already been realized by iiRcade due to its built-in ability to add new games via its online store, meaning every time I purchase a new game launch would happen in my arcade. And now with the ability to change its outward appearance and utility, I feel it truly encapsulates and brings to fruition the full Dragon's Lair phenomena. Now I'd like to quickly touch upon what I like to call the New Wave Toys equation. New Wave Toys is a company that makes functional arcade cabinet replicas, but at a much smaller scale, around a 1/6 dimension, and small enough to pick up in one's hand. They came out with a replica, the best looking version I've seen, of the original commercial arcade release cabinet of Dragon's Lair. When I got my Classic Edition iiRcade Dragon's Lair, I placed the New Wave Toys replica on top of it and was astonished by the unexpected effect it had. The combination of playing a fantastic version of Dragon's Lair on the iiRcade, then looking up at that accurate representation of the commercial arcade cabinet in all its glory, gave me all the right feels. I felt like a kid again, back in the classic mall arcade. And it really got me questioning for the first time. Did I really need Arcade 1-Up's upcoming iteration? The final piece of the puzzle in choosing which 3/4 scale Dragon's Lair cabinet to get would ultimately boil down to which company I trusted more. Arcade 1-Up's propensity to continually sting me by cutting corners on essential elements on their cabinets, and their recent bad track record with issues on their newest releases, didn't give me much confidence that they could bring home an acceptable Dragon's Lair experience. Thoughts of what would they skimp on, or what would come broken this time, circled about in my head. And though iiRcade hadn't been perfect either, the low-quality monitor on their first-gen cabinet I mentioned before, as well as some other issues I've touched upon in my previous reviews, they do seem more adept at rectifying situations more often, like they seemingly did, because the second-gen iiRcade cabinet I own came with a good monitor. Arcade 1-Up, on the other hand, can't seem to learn from past mistakes to save their lives, as they keep making the same or similar ones over and over again. It became clear I would bank on iiRcade this time. The messaging from iiRcade was straightforward regarding their initial run of their new Gold Edition cabinets, and ended up proving true. They explained that there was a very limited supply of units, and weren't sure when or if a new batch would be available. Basically, if you wanted one, you better get it sooner rather than later. Now, iiRcade has, more often than not, been pretty spot on when it comes to the true quantity of their stock, unlike Arcade 1-Up, who tends to grossly over-exaggerate their cabinet availability. Many in the community have found out the hard way when trying to play the waiting game with iiRcade, to soon find out the cabinet they'd been eyeing is no longer available. Now, I've been pretty good at avoiding the dance of the pre-order as of late, making it a point to wait for positive reviews and feedback before making a purchase. But iiRcade had earned quite a bit of my trust, and that made me confident enough to take the gamble on their new product. And yes, I believe pre-ordering anything is a gamble. But would that gamble pay off? When I pulled the handle on that hypothetical pre-order slot machine for the Dragon's Lair Gold Edition, would I get a wealth of sweet, sweet Mr. Pickles, or salty, salty Mr. Pickles if you prefer, or would I get a row of sour lemons? Let's find out. The look of the cabinet. I love iiRcade's Dragon's Lair artwork. It's no less than a pure celebration of Don Bluth's game, perfectly applied, with no scuffs or scratches, and a magnificent example of how a brand new product should arrive to a customer. The cabinet shape, however, was a bit hit or miss for me at first. Not to sound disrespectful, but it kind of looked like a big bottle opener. Over time, though, it actually did grow on me, and I liked that iiRcade was making it their own. And since the design language spoke more to a traditional shaped arcade cabinet, it started to remind me of later commercial arcade releases of Dragon's Lair I played, ones with that more traditional shape. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that beautiful new speaker grill and an absolutely stunning light-up marquee. Man, does everything look slick. iiRcade has made one stunner of a cabinet. Cabinet structure and assembly. With the new upgrades to the Gold Edition, I was a bit apprehensive to what the build experience would hold. I soon found out I had nothing to worry about, at least that first time I had to assemble it. The same great cam lock system and two-piece design that makes everything easier to move and situate is here, and everything went quite smoothly with that initial build. And though I was a tad bit disappointed to see no redesign to soften the sharp edges on the control panel, I do love that iiRcade includes their small stick-on rubber bumpers to compensate. Though I'm sure, like the other iiRcade cabinets I own, they will probably fall off at times as they essentially use adhesive to hold them on. Now, some might be wondering, why would one need to build anything more than once on this cabinet? Well, let's just say, for now, not everything on the Gold Edition functioned as designed out of the box. I had to work with iiRcade support to get everything to work, which took an uncomfortable amount of disassembly and reassembly of parts, which included components they had me mess with that were never meant to be touched by the customer. It became a comically bad show of returning and receiving parts, installations, and repetitive troubleshooting, something no customer should have to experience with a brand new product. And to one who already hates putting things together in the first place, this was a nightmare. Physical controls. What a difference a gate makes. These joysticks I can get behind. If you've seen my previous reviews for my iiRcade Classic Edition cabs, you'll know I had to dock them a Mr. Pickle in this category for using horrible square gates on their joysticks. Now, square gates don't make games unplayable by any means, but I personally don't like the way they feel. They make four-way games harder to play and make every other game just feel awkward to me. Now, anything other than a four-way game, I prefer a pure circular motion feel, the feeling I'm used to from my days back in commercial arcades. Subtle microclicks, without the rigid feel that comes from a physical gate. To recreate this feeling anytime it's available, or appropriate to do so, I've replaced directional shaped gates with circular ones. But when it comes to a cabinet with both four-way games and eight-way games, I actually prefer an eight-way gate, as it allows four-way games to at least play decently, while also allowing eight-way games to play as normal. iiRcade ditched the square gates for their Gold Edition and went for proper eight-way gates, and I couldn't be happier. In addition to changing out the gates, iiRcade chose to use heavier springs on their joysticks as well, giving them a more weighty feel, closer to the stronger ones I remember playing with back in the day. No longer that typical out-of-the-box, too light feel I often associate with Sanwa or Sanwa clone types. The buttons are the same great ones also found on the Classic Edition iiRcade cabinets I own. Clicky, responsive, and fun to play with. Picture quality. Problems were immediately noticeable, but initially had to take a back seat while I focused on a more serious setup issue. Suffice it to say though, as soon as I started moving away from the machine, it became clear that this was another lower quality monitor with discoloration issues. And though it did look like it might have a tad less distortion than my first generation Classic Edition Dragon's Lair cabinet, it still wasn't up to the great caliber of my second generation Classic Edition Space Ace cabinet. And like on my other iiRcade cabinets, I did try adjusting the brightness settings, but I couldn't thwart the discoloration issue no matter where I set it. I will tell you though, through some miracle of fate, during the unacceptably long time it took to fix the other issues on the cabinet, I did end up with a good monitor. It was replaced during the troubleshooting process, which I'll touch upon later in the video. But the one out of the box, expect disappointment. And don't think I forgot the infamous plexiglass monitor overlay. Still disappointing as ever. Installing it, even with the most careful maneuvering, a very clumsy process with a questionable sturdiness, got scratches upon install. And my woes with it were even worse this time, as I had to keep reinstalling it many times during iiRcade's whole troubleshooting process, causing even more scratches. As I mentioned in my other reviews, I wish at the higher price tag comparatively in this market, iiRcade could have included their scratch-resistant glass overlay, which they sell separately, or somehow pre-installed the plexiglass over the monitor in a way it stayed put and didn't move. Sound. Very surprised on this one, as iiRcade went all in on how amazing this new JBL-tuned experience was. When I powered it on and started messing around for the first time, the machine got loud, but everything came out way too bass heavy, to the point where nothing was punchy, and drowned it out by a heavy muddiness. Thankfully, iiRcade put in a setting where you can turn down the bass resonance, bringing the low end to comfortable levels. But to my personal ear, I actually find iiRcade's Classic Edition cabinets to sound better. Putting things into overall perspective though, out of the many arcade cabinets I own, the iiRcade Gold Edition still outmatches most of them. I just wish I didn't have to control the volume using arcade buttons. Not a big deal though. Games and gameplay. The games included on the Gold Edition Dragon's Lair cabinet are the same ones found on the other iiRcade cabinets I've reviewed. They include Beach Buggy Racing, Bomb Squad, Diver Boy, Double Dragon, Dragon Master, Dragon's Lair, of course, Fancy World, Gunbird, Maniac Square, Snowboard Championship, and Twin Brats. If you're saying to yourself, I've never heard of most of these games, you're in the same boat as I am. And I do hope you enjoy playing just these games, because what I got wouldn't allow me to add any more. I had to spend the next just over 4 months working with iiRcade to fix this oversight, and I'm being polite when I call it an oversight. I don't think most people would have bothered taking that amount of time to go through everything I had to, online store access or not. If I would have had even the smallest inkling of what I was going to have to go through to get one of the cabinet's main features to function, I would have sought out a refund instead. I trusted iiRcade, so I went the troubleshooting route. An exorbitant amount of time tinkering with the cabinet, messing around with my online account, and all manner of shipping parts back and forth. So what it boils down to then, do the free packing games that come with the cabinet make it worth owning? Unfortunately, no. But I can tell you the standout ones. And if these are your absolute must-have games, or if you don't mind taking a gamble on having to do just over 4 months of troubleshooting to get more games, then the cabinet may have you covered in the games department. Here are the standouts: Dragon's Lair, Diver Boy, Double Dragon, Fancy World, Gunbird, and Twin Brats. If you're interested in finding out more of my perspective on all the included pack-in games, please see my iiRcade Space Ace cabinet review. Customer support. A stark contrast to what I've been used to with iiRcade. I really want to illustrate, in a way, that anyone who watches this review can truly feel the exhaustion and frustration of what I experienced. I decided the most effective and fair way to do this would be to gather up every correspondence I could find between iiRcade and myself, and then put together the most accurate timeline I could to present that full trudgery. I didn't want it to sound like I was just reading emails and chat logs, so I also played a careful balance between explanations and quotes. I will then ask you, the viewer, to put yourself in my shoes for a moment and attempt to get through the entire illustration of events. The point? If one could sit through its entirety, the idea of that hypothetical ability to add more games to the iiRcade Gold Edition would become a reality. But if you got tired of listening to the cavalcade of troubleshooting and decided to skip ahead to the next section of the video, then you'd end up with a cabinet with just the 11 free packing games and no more. Before I begin, I wanted to mention that I purposely left out the names of the iiRcade support staff I worked with, as I don't want anyone to take heat from a simple review video. There are no ill feelings from me towards anyone at iiRcade. In fact, let's just get this out there right now. I personally want to thank every iiRcade staff member who helped me resolve my issues. Even if the service and candor weren't great at times, I can't fault iiRcade support for their ability to see a problem to its conclusion. Now there will be one name that appears in this timeline, and that's John, the CEO of the company, because he was name dropped by his staff members. I want people to know just how high up my issues might have gone. Though please be aware, I don't know personally if John ever got involved or heard anything about my issue. Now without further ado, let's navigate the time warp back to those events. Troubleshooting. September 29th, 2022. I reached out to iiRcade support to let them know my new Gold Edition cabinet wasn't showing up under my iiRcade online store account, and I wasn't able to download any games I purchased to the machine. I let them know I could download the packing games though. iiRcade support got back with me and provided me with the URL to the store. He wanted to make sure I was logging into the correct site, and then asked me to make a nickname for my device. I emailed iiRcade support back and confirmed I was logged into the correct site. It matched the URL he provided. I then let him know I didn't understand what a device nickname meant, as I never made one for my other iiRcade cabinets. iiRcade support emailed me back and asked if I had 3 devices. He let me know it could just be the server. Sometimes it takes a while before the server recognizes the new cabinet since it's newly built. He asked me to get into the information page on my cabinet and send him my device ID. September 30th, 2022. I replied back to iiRcade support's email and let him know I did have 3 devices. I gave him an update that my gold cabinet was still not showing up on the online store. I provided my device ID as requested. October 4th, 2022. I hadn't heard back from iiRcade support, so I emailed him again requesting an update. I let him know my Gold Edition cabinet was still not showing up on the store. iiRcade support got back with me and told me he created a ticket, but their engineer had not replied back yet. He then asked me for the email address associated with my iiRcade account. He gave me some troubleshooting steps to try, to use another browser to get into the store site. He also asked me to clear my cache as well. After doing this, see if my gold cabinet shows up. I replied to iiRcade support and let him know I went through the browser troubleshooting he requested, but the issue still persisted. I provided the email address associated with my iiRcade account as requested. October 11th, 2022. Again, I hadn't heard back from iiRcade support, so I sent him another email. I let him know I still couldn't download any games from the store to my Gold Edition cabinet and asked if I might have gotten a bad one. I also mentioned engineering, and if they didn't have a solution, maybe there was something else we could try. October 14th, 2022. iiRcade support finally got back with me, and he let me know their team investigated the issue. It looked like my account was linked with some sort of internal account, not sure what that meant, and he asked me for the username and email associated with my iiRcade account so they could check it out further. He said it looked like a mix-up with the server. I replied to iiRcade support and provided him with the email associated with my account again, as well as the username he requested. I waited to hear back. October 19th, 2022. Again, I hadn't heard back from iiRcade support, so I reached out for an update. I let support know I still couldn't see my device on the store. iiRcade support replied back, and he said his team advised him to have me log out and log in to my device and App Store again. He said it should work this time. He also said something I couldn't quite understand, quoting from his email, "Please make sure your device is also connected to your device." I replied back to the email and requested clarification on that last part. iiRcade support obliged with a quick email back. After everything was clear, I performed the new troubleshooting and reported back to him. I let him know the issue still wasn't fixed. I still couldn't see my device on the store, and I couldn't get any games I purchased to download to the new Gold Edition cabinet. I let him know I also went the extra mile and did all the browser troubleshooting we did before as well. I asked what we needed to do next. October 20th, 2022. iiRcade support got back with me and requested a screenshot of the information page from my Gold Edition cabinet. I replied to the email, sending him the picture of my information page. October 21st, 2022. iiRcade support got back with me and let me know somehow my Gold Edition cabinet was connected to a test server. He emailed their developer to send an update that would put me on the correct server. He said he would email me once the developer pushed that update, but in the meantime, to turn off my device. I turned off my device and waited to hear back. iiRcade support got back with me and let me know the developer would push the update to my Gold Edition cabinet and to turn on my device. He said after the update to power cycle my machine and log back in. I turned on my Gold Edition cabinet and the update downloaded and installed. I confirmed the version number afterwards from iiRcade's email. I power cycled the cabinet, but after it came back on, it didn't ask me to log in. I went to the login area and logged in manually. I then went to the iiRcade online store site and my Gold Edition still wasn't showing up. I logged off of the site and logged back in, and still the machine was missing. I logged off the iiRcade store site and power cycled the cabinet and then logged back into the cabinet manually and then back into the store site, but still no gold cap. I replied to iiRcade support's email and provided this update. iiRcade support got back with me, and he said they needed me to ship them back my control deck, the part with the joysticks and buttons, because they needed to flash it. He provided me a shipping label and then offered me a free game out of a list of 3 to choose from. October 22nd, 2022. I replied to iiRcade support and let him know I no longer had the original packing boxes my cabinet came in, and asked if they could send me a box to ship the control panel back. I then asked him if there was any way they could flash the control deck without having the ribbon cable. I let him know I had seen videos where attaching that cable to the motherboard could be tricky. I also let him know it might take me a few days to print out the label, as I needed to get access to a printer. I awaited their response. October 24th, 2022. iiRcade support got back with me and let me know to take the control deck to FedEx and ask them to pack it up and ship it. He said to see if FedEx could charge iiRcade for the service. If they couldn't, iiRcade would reimburse me via my PayPal. I replied to his email and let him know I should be able to ship it off that week. October 25th, 2022. I sent iiRcade support a quick email to ask again if he absolutely needed the ribbon cable. I also let him know what game I chose out of the 3 choices, The Legend of Silk Road. iiRcade support got back with me and confirmed that they did need the ribbon cable. Purpose? To connect it for testing after they fixed the issue. October 27th, 2022. I sent the control deck back to iiRcade via FedEx and emailed iiRcade support the tracking information. I also provided him with the following. FedEx let me know that they had no means to charge iiRcade directly for repackaging, so I paid for it. I provided my PayPal information to iiRcade for reimbursement, and also the receipts showing the balance. November 2nd, 2022. I hadn't heard back from iiRcade support, so I ran a quick tracking on the package, and it showed it arrived to iiRcade on October 28th. I emailed them requesting an update. The iiRcade support person I'd been working with emailed me and let me know he was out of the office until the next day, but would let his team know that the control deck had arrived and would email me once fixed and shipped. November 8th, 2022. It had been a while since that last email from iiRcade support, so I reached out again to request an update on the control deck. November 10th, 2022. Yet another 2 days had gone by without a response from iiRcade support. So again, I reached out for an update. iiRcade support finally responded back, but the answer truly frustrated me. Here's what was said exactly. Thank you for reaching out to us. I do apologize for the delay. We've been busy with the sales and Gold Edition. So there was a mistake on my end. I asked you to ship your control deck, which you did, but what we needed was the motherboard. I've attached an image so you know what I'm talking about. You can easily remove the motherboard by just unscrewing the wooden screw. I apologize for the inconvenience. Can you please let us know your PayPal so we can reimburse you for the shipping last time? I'll try to see if I can get you a free game. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I was being told that the part I was asked to send back wasn't actually what they needed, and they needed a different part now. I stayed very cordial and let him know that the diagram he provided to remove the motherboard didn't have enough instructions for me to comfortably remove it. In fact, removing one screw wasn't how my Gold Edition cab was assembled. I asked him if I could just send back the whole monitor piece so they could figure it out from there. As for the reimbursement, I had already provided my PayPal information to iiRcade, and here they were asking for it again. I let him know I was concerned shipping something else out, as I hadn't been reimbursed for the control deck shipping yet. Still, I provided, again, my PayPal information. I let support know, though I wouldn't mind another free game, I never received the first one. I provided him again the name of the first game I chose, The Legend of Silk Road. November 11th, 2022. Support replied back to me and provided another picture showing how to remove the motherboard, but did let me know if I had any issues, I could send the whole piece back, monitor with motherboard attached. He let me know iiRcade would reimburse me and also let me know that he emailed his web team to send the free game to my device. November 12th, 2022. I let iiRcade support know I would attempt to remove the motherboard with the one screw shown in the attached picture, but would send back the full monitor with motherboard attached if I couldn't remove it. I let him know I would keep an eye out for the free game. November 15th, 2022. I emailed iiRcade support with an update. I let him know I would be shipping out the monitor with the motherboard still attached, as I was unable to detach the motherboard after removing the one screw. Shipping would happen after I could get to a printer to print the UPS label. November 16th, 2022. The next day I was able to get access to a printer and ship the monitor with motherboard attached. I updated iiRcade support via email. I provided him with the new reimbursement total, which included this shipment and the first one, and also provided tracking information. I also wanted to roughly keep track of all the outstanding issues related to our troubleshooting and provided him with the following checklist. Number 1. Let me know when all parts I sent are fixed and when they will ship back, with tracking information. Number 2. Let me know when I might receive my reimbursement to my PayPal account. Number 3. Let me know when I might see the first free game you offered. Number 4. And any word on a second free game you mentioned. November 23rd, 2022. I hadn't heard back from iiRcade support, so I ran the tracking number for the monitor motherboard shipment, and it showed iiRcade received it on the 22nd. I emailed support with this info and also referenced the checklist from my last email. November 28th, 2022. iiRcade support got back with me. He said his team sent me the reimbursement to my PayPal account and a check. He said the web team would be adding the free game to my account soon, and what was my second game choice again? I hadn't provided one at that point. And he asked me if I received my parts back. November 29th, 2022. I responded to iiRcade support with the following. I let him know I did receive the parts back and installed them, but unfortunately, I was now in worse shape than before I shipped anything out. The machine wouldn't turn on at all now, and I was getting no light from the power button or marquee and no activity from the monitor. I let him know there was a small light coming from inside the motherboard housing and a light on the power brick, so I knew I was getting power. I provided a picture of all my connections so he could see how everything was plugged in. I let him know that I finally received the reimbursement from iiRcade regarding the shipping and packing for both control panel and motherboard monitor. The reimbursement issue was now complete. I let him know I still hadn't received the first free game offered to me. As for the second game choice, I let him know I hadn't chosen a specific title yet, as he was looking into it. I asked him if there was another list to choose from, or do I just pick one from the full iiRcade library? November 30th, 2022. iiRcade support reached out to me and asked me to check the ribbon cable on the control panel to make sure it was firmly plugged in, and provided a picture. They also asked me to reseat everything again. I let him know everything was fine with the ribbon cable and it was connected to the control panel like showed in the picture he provided. I also reseated it and still no power. I asked him for the next step. iiRcade support sent me the next set of troubleshooting along with a couple of pictures. One of those pictures looked like nothing I'd seen on my cabinet. Here's what I was asked to do. Check the cable, circled the ribbon one, and make sure it's plugged in correctly. Try switching it around as it may be connected in the wrong way. Also check if the cable is connected properly in the middle and make sure no pins are exposed. December 1st, 2022. I reported back to iiRcade support the following troubleshooting. I double-checked both the connection on the motherboard housing and the control panel ribbon cable, and there is no exposed pins on either connection. The cable covers all pins on both connectors. I did disconnect the cable at both ends, trying to plug it in the opposite way, but it won't allow that, as there is a groove on the cable and it won't allow it to plug in the wrong way. It will only allow one-way connection on either port. After replugging everything back in again, no exposed pins on either connection, there is no middle way to plug in the cable. It's either plugged in tight with no pin showing or won't plug in at all. However, my cabinet connection looks different than the picture you sent me. After replugging in everything, still no power except for the light in the motherboard housing and on the power brick. iiRcade support got back with me and asked me the following. Did I have an extension cord connected to the power brick and to the machine? If so, try removing that and directly connect the power brick to the device. I assumed he was saying there might be a power issue using an extension cord, so instead to plug the machine directly into the wall. I emailed back and let him know I wasn't using an extension cord. I had it plugged into my UPS, which works for my other iiRcades. I let him know that I did plug it directly into the wall, as the machine wasn't doing an update. December 2nd, 2022. Support emailed me back and let me know he was going to email their engineers to get their input. But in the meantime, asked me if I could connect an external monitor via HDMI to see if the device will connect to a TV. He said if that works, it would indicate the device is on and the monitor is just not receiving a connection with the board. I didn't see how this would work, as the power button wouldn't even light up when pressed, but I was willing to try it. I plugged the iiRcade into a TV via the HDMI port and still got no signal after trying to get the iiRcade to power on after depressing the power button. I tried holding it down for 2 seconds on the first try, 10 seconds on the second try, and a minute on the third try. The power supply still showed a green light, as did the motherboard unit. I emailed iiRcade support with the results and then asked him, should we just have iiRcade ship out a brand new control panel and a brand new monitor/motherboard unit? None of the troubleshooting was working, and the machine no longer turns on at this point. I let him know my issues had been going on for over 2 months with no resolution in sight. I asked him if he thought it had been an exceedingly long time to deal with these issues. iiRcade support emailed me back and let me know he could forward this issue to his team, whatever team that was, and see if they could send a replacement. He then requested me to check the cabling on the motherboard itself and provided a picture. He said we could try this one more time to make sure all the wires were connected properly. I was taken aback by this, as exposing the motherboard to get to the cable he was suggesting would void the warranty on my machine. I emailed support back and let him know I could comply with this task, however, I didn't want to void my warranty. I also made it clear that he never asked me to perform anything on the motherboard itself before, and did he really want me messing with that part? If he could confirm that I wouldn't void the warranty, I asked him to provide step-by-step instructions, preferably with pictures, as I didn't want to mess anything up. I did ask him, though, to consider not having me take apart more things and instead request new replacement components, monitor/motherboard piece, and a control panel with ribbon cable instead. I let him know I didn't think a customer should have to become a technician to own an iiRcade, and that was asking a lot. December 5th, 2022. iiRcade support got back with me and let me know he would allow me to get inside the motherboard and send me a replacement warranty sticker. He said he thought a connection somehow got disconnected or got loose during the shipping process. He explained that they replaced it, a cable, with the new motherboard. He wasn't sure if his team plugged it in all the way, but thought it could be the issue. He provided pictures and the following instructions. Remove the 4 wooden screws. Once the metal cover is off, just hold it and check the wire. Unplug it and replug it back in. Just make sure your iiRcade is off and unplugged. Pretty bare bones instructions, but I thought I might be able to follow them. My jaw dropped when I saw the picture he sent of the cable in question. It was the cable iiRcade support described as the control panel cable. That's why the first picture sent to me looked nothing like I'd seen inside my cabinet. Now that I knew the cable in question was inside the motherboard casing, things started to make sense. December 6th, 2022. I completed the troubleshooting on the motherboard and provided iiRcade support with the following update. I unplugged the power adapter from the back of the machine. I unplugged all the cables connected externally to the motherboard/monitor unit. I removed the motherboard housing as instructed, which also caused the warranty sticker to remove/break, which thankfully you authorized. However, in order to get the housing to come off to access the cable to receipt, I had to remove 6 screws, not 4 as you mentioned. I wish they would give first-line support more accurate troubleshooting information to pass on to customers, because some of us aren't as tech-savvy, especially those who purchase plug-and-play solutions like the iiRcade. That's why I kept asking for step-by-step instructions with pictures. When you first gave me instructions to get to this cable, it was to remove 1 screw. This last time, your instructions said to remove 4 screws, but it actually takes removing 6 screws. Hopefully this information can be passed to future customers asked to perform this procedure. After the housing came off, the cable in question was already plugged in correctly, with no pins exposed, just like you hoped, opposite of the picture you provided showing incorrect positioning. I reseated the cable as you requested, and it's now back in the exact same middle position as I found it. All pins connected, none exposed. I provided a picture in the email showing this. I reinstalled the housing, screwing in the 6 screws that hold it down. I replugged in all cables back into the unit, control panel, speakers, LED marquee, USB, and finally the power adapter. I plugged the power adapter back into the wall, and the green light came on the power brick, and the green light shone inside the motherboard/monitor housing. I held the power button down for 2 seconds and released it. I waited for 30 seconds and nothing powered on. I repeated the above process twice more, but the second time I held the power button down for 10 seconds, and the third time for 30 seconds. Nothing powers on. No power light, no marquee, no monitor. Having done everything asked, I guess I'm requesting again. A replacement monitor/motherboard unit and a new control panel with a ribbon cable. Since all these pieces have been identified as factors that could cause my issues, I'd like to avoid any more trial and error techniques and just replace all possible affected pieces all at one time to get me a working machine without any more try this, try that, or we think this might be the piece troubleshooting. I'd like to request that the setup be tested and confirmed working all together before shipping if possible. And maybe a new power supply/adapter as well? I don't know if it should be replaced for sure, because it worked at one point, but if you think we might want to be better safe than sorry, I don't think it would hurt. I think any sane person would agree that I've spent ample time and enough customer end troubleshooting to get things to work without success. December 8th, 2022. I hadn't got a response to the troubleshooting update I sent iiRcade support 2 days prior, so I sent them a quick message, staying cordial but portraying urgency. iiRcade support, please don't leave me hanging. I currently have a brick in the shape of an iiRcade Gold Edition cabinet sitting in my living room that won't do anything. Please let me know what we need to do next. iiRcade support got back with me with the following message, and I'm quoting, "I forwarded this to Jong about your issue. I'm waiting for the input and possible solution. I've made a list below of all the methods or possible solutions we've tried, just to make sure we didn't miss anything. I know this is not ideal, but since we are emailing back and forth, I didn't want to miss anything. Number 1, unplugged and replugged every cable. Number 2, motherboard cable unplug and replug. Number 3, power brick extension removed and switched to a different power brick. Not sure if we've done this. If not, definitely try switching power brick from your other working unit to see. Have you also tried a different outlet? Also, one more try on this. Switch this cable around. Our developer said if the cable is switched in the wrong way, it might not turn on. Have the red wires facing away from the board." I responded to iiRcade support in email. Regarding trying different outlets, as I mentioned before, I tried both outlets and UPS connections with no luck. Also, no need to switch the cable to another direction, since the correct picture you show is the same way I have it. Everything else looks accurate except for these points. I don't remember trying another power brick, but since you mentioned trying it, I did just now with one from my Gen 1 cabinet power supplies, but unfortunately it doesn't power on either. I guess it may not be a power brick issue. I also sent back for repair the motherboard/monitor unit, control deck, and ribbon cable that connects the control deck to the motherboard to fix the first issue where I couldn't download any games I purchased from the store, though I was able to download and install the base free games. We haven't been able to test that fix as the new issue, the machine no longer turning on, won't allow it. I think that about sums it up for all the troubleshooting. Please keep me in the loop. I really do want to experience this new Gold Edition cabinet. iiRcade support emailed me back with the following instructions and a request to ship back parts. He provided me with a new picture of the motherboard and cable in question. He let me know that the cable has a white dot, and if I could make sure that it's facing away from the board and fully seated. He also let me know that his team informed him that if there is any blue light from the board, that it's receiving power. He said his team thinks the best option is to send my board in again, just the motherboard with the metal case. He said he let Jong know the inconvenience I had been going through, and said and I'm directly quoting from his email so I don't misquote. So maybe we reimburse you with any games you want. I believe the first game was sent. The second game still hasn't been sent. I'll see if I can push to have you pick any games you want from the store. December 9th, 2022. I responded back to support's last email with the following. Though I appreciate your team believes redundancy of troubleshooting is necessary, it continues to frustrate me having to do the same things over and over again with the same results. However, I did as you asked, utilizing the same steps as before to get to and receipt again the main motherboard cable, this time making sure that the white dot, which should have been mentioned when I did this the first time, was facing away from the motherboard. It already was, because when I reseated the cable the last time, the wires were in the correct position as the picture. Just for testing purposes, after the cable was fully reseated, again, I screwed down the metal housing for the motherboard again and plugged back in the rest of the cables, with power brick plugged in last. Again, I tried to turn it on 3 times, using the method I mentioned in my previous email. And still, no button power light, no marquee light, no monitor turning on. And just a note from your last email, the only light I see from the slit in the motherboard is green. I don't see any blue lights. As for sending parts back to iiRcade, again, I will do it. But just know I'm frustrated that the people who repaired my equipment the last time made it worse since the machine no longer powers on. My machine at least turned on before I sent stuff back. I wish iiRcade would consider sending me brand new equipment, as I paid brand new price for the machine. I prefer just to start with new parts, a new motherboard / monitor unit, and a control panel with ribbon cable to connect the two, tested to make sure everything works before shipping out. However, I will send parts back if iiRcade wants to go that route again, but just know I don't have very much confidence in further fixing this broken equipment, and I'll only send the motherboard back if I don't have to detach it from the monitor, which involves 2 additional tiny cables. It needs to go back as a full piece, the monitor / motherboard unit. I do not feel comfortable at all unplugging more wires to detach the motherboard housing from the monitor. I do not want to create more points of failure. I kept the boxes iiRcade shipped my equipment back the last time, so there won't be any need to have a shipping company pack them. And if iiRcade does decide to have me ship stuff back, please make sure to use UPS, which worked out fine. FedEx is horrible, and I don't want to go through that experience again. And I do appreciate iiRcade wanting to provide more free games to ease the pain of this situation, and I won't turn them down. But I'd rather concentrate on getting my gold machine working first. If you want to send that second game in the meantime, Retromania Wrestling sounds fine. December 13th, 2022. I hadn't heard back from iiRcade support, so I emailed them requesting an update. December 14th, 2022. Still nothing from iiRcade support, so I sent them another email saying the following. Please, iiRcade support, don't leave me hanging again. If you could at least give me an update to my questions / thoughts in my email I sent on December 9th, even if it's just waiting to hear from another department or a response to an internal email, anything would be appreciated. Thank you. iiRcade support responded, and I'm quoting again, sorry about that, so I've already talked to my team. The best option is sending in your control board. If the issue is a defective motherboard, we can replace it from our office. I want to get this fixed before Christmas so you can enjoy the gold machine with your family. If you could send your board this week, I can express ship it back to you so it gets shipped back fast to you. I know you don't want to send it in again, as it is inconvenient to you. I'll send a prepaid label if you're okay doing this. I replied back, thanks for getting back with me. Yes, please, you can send me the shipping label. I'm glad I kept the box you shipped back the replacement unit in, so it will fit the entire motherboard/monitor piece. I should have access to a printer either tomorrow or Friday, and then get it shipped back to you. If you can have them, please test everything and confirm everything works before shipping the unit back. That would be great. And also, please have them affix the new warranty sticker to replace the one you had me remove during troubleshooting. Also, as a quick aside, I do hope the ribbon cable and control deck I sent back are good and working as well. They haven't been tested since the machine wouldn't turn on when I got my parts back. I guess we'll find out. I do hope it's only the motherboard like you're thinking. iiRcade support emailed me the label, but unfortunately, it was FedEx. As I explained, FedEx was a nightmare to deal with, and I requested UPS from now on. I emailed him back to see if I could get a UPS label. December 15th, 2022. iiRcade support accommodated me and emailed me a UPS shipping label. December 16th, 2022. I emailed back iiRcade support and let him know I should be able to get it shipped out that day, and was able to. December 22nd, 2022. iiRcade support emailed me back and let me know they received my board and should be shipping it out that day, trying for overnight shipping. But then he presented something downright fishy to me. He told me the issue was caused by the connection he had me receipt. It wasn't connected properly. He provided a picture showing an exposed pin, something totally different from the picture I sent him after I receipted that cable. Mine showed no pins exposed. I didn't see how something like that could happen during shipping, and it was very suspect to me. He then asked me 2 questions. Number 1, did iiRcade reimburse me for shipping costs I incurred? And number 2, did they send me the free game? I replied back with the following. Thank you for the update. This looks like the cable you had me receipt several times. I know, to the best of my knowledge, that I did exactly what was asked of me, and plugged it in as instructed and exactly in the position that it came to me in. Doesn't look like the pins were exposed from the picture I sent you of my receipt. So I guess this is a cautionary tale. That tells me when the board was shipped back to me originally, whoever sent it didn't plug in this cable correctly. And during my receipting process and seeing with my old eyes, no pins exposed, that iiRcade probably doesn't want to have customers directly engaging in this process. I do hope iiRcade considers not having customers mess with these particular components and just ship back parts for iiRcade technicians to fix. I get that it might seem an easier and quicker solution to have someone do this on site, but I think if it's a component that customers are told not to touch by way of void warranty sticker, I would in those cases have iiRcade ship out new replacement parts and afterwards have the customer use that box to ship back anything faulty. This would cut down greatly on a customer's wait time. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that when I get the motherboard/monitor unit back this second time, that everything works. I'll update you when I receive it and have it installed. To your other questions, and the ones I've been keeping track of, number 1, iiRcade did reimburse me for the shipping costs I incurred. Number 2, I received the first free game offered to me, The Legend of Silk Road. Number 3, you asked me to pick a second free game, and I chose Retro Mania Wrestling. I never received it. Number 4, you had mentioned that you were going to see if I could choose more free games from the store, which is cool, but if my gold cab works this time, after installing the repaired motherboard/monitor unit, I'd be happy with that. Number 5, please make sure a new warranty sticker is affixed to the motherboard/monitor unit before it ships, so I won't have to do anything there. Plus, I never received the new sticker anyway, so might as well have the text put on the new one before shipping. Number 6. If you can, please send me the tracking number for the shipment so I can monitor its progress. iiRcade support emailed me back and provided the tracking number and let me know they have fixed the warranty sticker to the unit. December 29th, 2022. I got the motherboard/monitor back and installed it. And well, I'll just let my email to iiRcade support do the talking. I'm going to be as calm as I can, but I'm letting you know up front, I'm at my absolute wit's end. If it isn't one issue, it's another. So I got my quote-unquote fixed monitor/motherboard back and installed it today, which fixed the machine not turning on issue, but now the monitor screen itself is damaged. It shows some sort of cracking damage that can only be seen when you turn it on. It looks normal when off, like it did when I took it out of the shipping box, but as soon as you turn it on, please see the picture below to see what I'm talking about. And of course, I attached the picture. This is absolutely unacceptable and is becoming borderline insulting. And yes, I'm sure iiRcade at least turned it on before they shipped it back to me. And something could have happened during shipping, though I'm not sure if that's possible, as the box was in great condition and everything was packed well. Regardless, 3 months of troubleshooting now, and I still don't have a working gold cabinet. I'm a bit angry at this point, and I want a solution. Please figure this out. My frustration threshold has been reached, and I'm upset that I spent $799, the highest price I paid for any iiRcade product. I've never had these kind of issues on your other cabinets. Let me know what we need to do next, as I need a solution that gets me what I paid for. Please make this right. I received the following response from iiRcade support, which I'll be quoting. Hello. Thank you for contact iiRcade customer service. We will be out of the office during the holidays and will be returning on January 2nd. During this time, our communication may be limited. Thank you so much for your understanding. We will get back to your email as quickly as possible when we return. Happy holidays. Thank you. iiRcade customer service. December 30th, 2022. I replied to this holiday update email with the following. iiRcade customer service/support. Thank you for the update. I won't ever begrudge people getting time off. iiRcade has done tons this year for the community, and it's well deserved. I will patiently wait for my continued issues to be fixed, and I want to wish everyone at iiRcade a happy holidays and a happy new year. Take care and await pickup when you're back in the office. January 3rd, 2023. I reached out to iiRcade support with the following email to continue troubleshooting. iiRcade support. I hope you had a great holiday. I'm writing again, now that you've been back in the office, to get an update on what support is going to do next to fix my broken iiRcade Gold Edition machine. The latest, to recap, I received the monitor/motherboard you worked on to fix the 2 issues I was having at the time, machine not turning on, and the inability to download any of my purchased games from the iiRcade online store. But as I mentioned in my previous email, though the machine does turn on now, the monitor itself is busted. Please see image again below. I haven't tested downloading games capability, as you can see the damage to the monitor is pretty significant. I provided the picture in this email. It's now been 97 days since I reported issues with my brand new iiRcade Gold cabinet, and I still don't have a working one. I would like to get resolution, and though I'm being patient, I am frustrated it's taking this long. I bought 2 other cabinets from you guys, and haven't experienced these levels of problems. I really didn't expect these kind of issues, especially with a more premium version of your product. Please help, or at least give me an update. January 5th, 2023. I still hadn't heard anything from iiRcade support since our office return on the 2nd, and my email requesting update that I sent on the 3rd. I reached out again via email to see if I could get any news with this following email. iiRcade support, anyone at iiRcade. I hate sending another email, but this is the only means I have to contact iiRcade support, and haven't heard anything back for a couple days. It was my understanding from the email I got from iiRcade that customer service would be out for the holidays. Again, I hope everyone had a great holiday, and back on January 2nd. I sent my last email on the 3rd. I understand that iiRcade is a smaller company, that's why I've showed a modicum of patience, but if someone could at least give me an update on when I might see a fix for the broken monitor I was sent, or maybe where I'm at in the queue, or if staff is still out on holiday and when they may return, I'd really appreciate it. The issue I have is pretty severe, and I can't use my product, and that's why I'm reaching out again. If anyone could give me any kind of update just to let me know I've not been forgotten, that would be great. I hope everyone's doing well, and I hope to hear back soon. As soon as I sent out that email, I decided if I might have better luck through iiRcade's chat system. I usually can't get to someone directly through this method, but it couldn't hurt to try. As luck would have it, and I definitely needed some of that, a support person was available. I let her know about my situation, and she was up to date on it. She said they had shipped me a new monitor and a new warranty sticker, and provided me the tracking number. I asked if the monitor was coming with the motherboard attached, so I wouldn't have a difficult time installing it. She said she thinks they just sent the monitor, so I would most likely need to remove my existing motherboard and attach it to the new monitor. She said they would like to send me out a t-shirt because of all the trouble this has caused. I said that would be fine and gave my size. I let her know I would keep an eye out for the new monitor. Soon after my chat session, iiRcade support replied to my email, and I'll be quoting again. I do apologize about that. I meant to send an email about your replacement monitor. I've already shipped it out yesterday. I also received notification to send an email to you on the instructions. I'm going to create a video, and I'll email it to you once it's finished. I think it's more helpful if I do a video so you aren't confused with some of the parts. I'm also going to mail a warranty sticker to your address and a t-shirt. January 12th, 2023. I received the monitor this week, but no instructions on how to install it. I figured it might take a day or two to create the video he mentioned, but decided to reach out to get an update. I sent him the following email. Just wanted to touch base to get an update on the video you said you would send me. Instructions on how to install the new replacement monitor. I received the monitor a few days ago and hadn't heard back. No instructions in the box either. If you could send me that video and maybe the instructions as well, I'll attempt to get that installed ASAP. Also, no new warranty sticker in the box, which I'll need as I'll have to remove the motherboard and housing from the old monitor and install it onto the new one. January 13th, 2023. Another day goes by, and I still haven't received a response to my last email. I decided to take a chance again with iiRcade's chat system. Though I didn't get to speak with a live person that time, I did get a response a few hours later. I explained that I received the new monitor, but no instructions. I let them know that one of the support staff was going to make me a video to make it easier to install. iiRcade support sent me this response, quoting again. Sorry about that. It's very simple. Remove the metal casing from your old monitor if you haven't. If you can, Just remove this side panel in order to remove the old monitor and insert your new monitor. iiRcade support provided a PDF with the instructions attached to the chat. So again, iiRcade support says one thing and then does another. Pretty frustrating, as I was waiting for something that apparently wasn't going to happen now. I sucked it up, as I had been, and decided to attempt to install with the PDF instructions provided. January 17, 2023. I was finally able to make some time to attempt the install a few days later, but to my dismay, again, I'll let my email to iiRcade support tell the tale. iiRcade support, anybody, please help. The monitor I just received from iiRcade has no screw holes to mount the monitor on. This is exactly what I was trying to avoid. Another point of failure, which I pleaded with support to avoid. And the sparse, though still appreciated, instructions say I need to make my own drill holes if there are none there. None are there. Why? I don't own a drill to make the necessary modification, and I hope iiRcade isn't asking me to go out and buy one. I'm at my wit's end. Since I have both a broken monitor with attached motherboard and the replacement monitor, wouldn't it just be better to send everything back to iiRcade and have it fixed? I don't have the tools for the job. Please, for over 3 months, I've been trying to get a brand new cabinet to work and nothing has brought me a fix. I really need iiRcade to stand behind this product because it cost me a large chunk of money and time. Please let me know what we can do to resolve this issue. Have a good day. January 18th, 2023. iiRcade support replied to my email letting me know all replacement monitors are unfortunately the same. It's not a mistake. He attached a prepaid label and let me know to keep the broken monitor and chip them the motherboard with the metal casing and the new monitor. I replied to iiRcade support letting him know I'd ship them the parts they requested so they can assemble the pieces and install the new warranty sticker. I let him know I should have it shipped by Friday, if not early next week, because I needed to get access to a printer to print the label. January 20th, 2023. I shipped off the parts to iiRcade and updated them via email and provided the tracking number. January 27th, 2023. I reached out to iiRcade support to get an update. I sent them the following email. Just checking on the status. Any updates on the repair? It looks like iiRcade received the parts on the 25th. Hope you're having a great day and look forward to hearing back. February 1st, 2023. iiRcade support emailed me back and provided the following information. Your package should arrive by Friday. We attached the motherboard to the monitor. I carefully checked the cable within the internal motherboard. He provided me the tracking number. February 6th, 2023. Finally, I had a full working iiRcade Gold Edition machine. I'll let my final email to support regarding this issue tell the story. I wanted to let you know I got the new monitor/motherboard and installed it today. Everything finally works. After it was installed, I went to the iiRcade store and made sure I was logged out. I didn't have to log off the machine because it already had me logged off. I then logged into the Gold Edition cab and it immediately tried to download a game from my purchased games. It failed. But then I logged into my store account and saw the third machine was now showing up. The first time it's happened. I then tried installing a game to it from the new cab's library and it worked. I was then able to install all my purchased games to my gold cabinet. I then purchased a new game to see if it would also install, and it did. I tested some gameplay and everything works great. Though it's still very disappointing that it took this long to get the product to work properly, I want to personally thank you and everyone else at iiRcade Support for getting me up and running. This isn't a cheap product, and I really wanted it to work, and I really appreciate everyone's efforts. Now, as we can finally close out the issue ticket, I wanted to ask one last time about the outstanding things that were mentioned in our emails throughout the months and months of troubleshooting. I never received that second game we were discussing, Retromania Wrestling, and I also never received the t-shirt that was said to be shipped to me. This will be the last time I ask, so if any of it comes to fruition, that's great. But if not, it is what it is. Have a wonderful day, and thanks again. Troubleshooting story complete. Customer support continued. Now, before I move on to the next category, I want to touch upon a couple things. First, the importance of being true to one's word. I was told many things by iiRcade Support during the troubleshooting of my Dragon's Lair Gold Edition cabinet. And though some of these things did come true, I did receive one free game, I was reimbursed for incurred packaging costs, and I did have parts repaired that iiRcade said they would. Other tales about extra games, merch, etc. didn't materialize. As of the making of this video, the last couple of things I touched upon in my final email to iiRcade Support never came to fruition, and they never replied back. Now, not receiving that second free game, or possible other free games mentioned, and not receiving an iiRcade t-shirt they said they would send, wasn't the end of the world to me. However, the principle is what matters. Whether a word comes from the CEO of a company or any one of that company's employees, everyone is a face and voice of that company. And when one inside that company shows a lack of candor, it can speak volumes about that company as a whole. I hope, if anything, iiRcade sees this review and encourages their staff to be careful of what they offer their customers. I understand saying things or offering things to keep relations friendly and civil, but if the words are dishonest, or if no care is taken to follow through on those words, then best believe it can build a less than favorable reputation, which can hurt a company in the long run. And that brings me to iiRcade's messaging about having a small team. Because of this messaging, I made it a point to keep my temperament balanced with iiRcade Support, no matter how long it took to take care of my issues. But the messaging of having a small team only goes so far when you have a customer endure just over 4 months of troubleshooting just to get a working cab. I hope iiRcade can take this example of what I had to go through and invest in a bigger and more efficient support team, and even consider full replacements when things go south. Other annoyances beyond what I've already discussed? Yes, 2 outstanding and important issues still affecting the iiRcade platform. The first issue impacted me more this time on my Gold Edition cabinet, after the functionality was restored, of course. Games I purchased sometimes wouldn't automatically download or download after manually initiating. Since I've amassed a large library of games, trying to get all of them onto this new cabinet, though I was able to, was a frustrating chore. iiRcade's workaround, a series of making changes inside one's library on the online store, then having to reboot several times as well, did the trick, but what a pain. I really hope iiRcade can address and fix this completely in the future. The other issue has to do with pausing and unpausing games. Doing so can sometimes produce sound issues. It has gotten better on my Classic Edition cabinets, but still remains an issue even on the Gold. If you'd like a deeper dive about these issues, I've touched upon them more in my review for the iiRcade Space Ace cabinet. Is the cabinet fun? I have a completely working Gold Edition cabinet now. But even before the fixes, because all the games are available on every iiRcade cabinet, iiRcade is just plain fun. And with the improved joystick situation, I'm having an even better time. Value for price. Each Gold Edition cabinet, to my knowledge, from the videos I've watched and what I've seen listed on iiRcade's website, have the exact hardware specifications. The only differences seem to lie on the surface with their skins, and one extra game included on the Dead Cells and Space Invaders variants, a game to match their cabinet's theme. If I'm understanding everything correctly, and all Gold Editions are essentially the same, then the value for price for me, for the new Gold Editions, is an emphatic no. I feel the Gold Edition was rushed to market. In no conceivable way should a cabinet that costs $799, which they actually retail for $999, a dollar shy of $1,000, come with one of its major functions broken. If you're looking for a version of the iiRcade cabinet with a light-up marquee and a better joystick experience, and don't mind living with just the included packing games, then I'd say the Gold Edition may be worth your time at $300 with shipping. But for those who want the ability to get more games, with a more seamless implementation of the upcoming third-party peripheral support, I can't recommend taking a gamble on the Gold Edition, a cabinet where you may end up spending months and months of your time to get one of its most important features to work. Since all iiRcade cabinets can play the same games, you're better served just going with a SKU that works. I'll reiterate the recommendation I made from my Space Ace review. Seek out a cabinet like iiRcade's Space Ace Edition. I say like because they no longer make the Space Ace Classic Edition SKU. A comparable one might be described as their second generation Classic Edition, defined by its light-up power button, with 64 gigabytes of storage and Sanwa clone sticks. To be safe though, since I only know the specific cabinet I have, Space Ace, I would reach out to iiRcade beforehand to confirm. Also ask them if the one you're thinking about comes with one of their good monitors. Don't be afraid to ask. So finally, adding up the tally of all the categories, how many Mr. Pickles does iiRcade's Dragon's Lair Gold Edition arcade cabinet get? 4 Mr. Pickles out of 10. Forget it. This cabinet isn't ready for prime time. And please take into account, and this is very important, I am only reviewing the Dragon's Lair variant of this line. And though all Gold Edition cabinets appear to be the same under the hood, I need to preface my version specifically to be fair. The caution I have right now is if you're still thinking about this cabinet, to consider if the gamble is worth the risk, especially when there are more dependable and more stable iiRcade cabinet options out there. And one final thought to those who might be curious. Do I have any regrets choosing iiRcade's Dragon's Lair over Arcade 1-Up's? During the whole troubleshooting ordeal with the Gold Edition, I actually did have regrets. But after seeing many reviews of Arcade 1-Up's Dragon's Lair, it looked like it wouldn't have made the cut for me either. Though I was happy to see Arcade 1-Up choose a great monitor for their cabinet, at least from the many accounts I've heard, some reported issues were blockers for me. Sound bugs, and a track mode issue if you dare play a round of Dragon's Lair, replete with an unnecessary workaround, and an aesthetic ROM choice for one of the games were deal breakers. And with no fixes in sight, and Arcade 1-Up doing their usual silent mode thing, I was personally glad I chose differently. Now please, please, please do not take my comments on Arcade 1-Up's product as a verification or review. I do not have Arcade 1-Up's Dragon's Lair cabinet, nor have I played it, nor have I seen it in person. But watching and reading reviews before considering buying a product is very important to me, and I just wanted to illustrate what I heard to provide context towards my feelings. I encourage you, if you're interested in Arcade 1-Up's Dragon's Lair, to seek out reviews from people who do own the cabinet, preferably ones you trust, in order to make the most informed purchasing decision. During all the time it took me to procure the Dragon's Lair magic for my home arcade, I started to wonder, could there possibly be some sort of curse preventing a decent 3/4 scale replica from coming home? Maybe, as Jong might say. But all I can say after the dust is settled, that I'm glad I now have a fully acceptable, and I guess I can safely say now, exceptional, Dragon's Lair cabinet in my home arcade. The game's legacy and what it represents to me is all here. And with a little help from my New Wave Toys Dragon's Lair topper, of course. For those who would like to see more of what iiRcade's Dragon's Lair Gold Edition looks like, I'm paying it forward and leaving a link to a video I've enjoyed showcasing it. And with that, safe travels everyone. And remember, you always have a right to your opinion, but only I have a right to mine. Until next time, stay wiggly, my friends.